Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this city council meeting to order. Note the attendance. And we have open forum. We have one person. Susan Rosenberg, would you please come forward, state your address and name and your comments?
Good evening. My name is Susan Rosenberg at 6633 Thomas Avenue South. And tonight I'm here to talk about Garden Club and an activity that's going to be occurring in the next couple of weeks. But before I do, I just want to, I see some gardeners here because of the Richfield in Bloom tonight. You're going to be giving the awards out, and I was one of the judges. And I got to tell you, it was like picking your favorite kid. Because they were all beautiful, and we just had so much fun. And I got some great fodder for the tour next year. And everybody that participated was just wonderful, and we were so glad to have 2 of our gardens on our garden tour this year on the final 10. So it was really a good time, and the people are wonderful. Of course, all gardeners are, but we had a great time. But tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the Richfield Garden Club is having a little event on September 18th. And to those of us who are gardeners, this is a really important thing. And it's the president of the Federated Garden Clubs of Minnesota will present a program called the Native Pollinators. And this is a presentation on the importance of bees and butterflies and the threat that they're currently under and what we can do to help them survive. And this is a very timely and thought-provoking discussion, and it's going to be of interest to all of us because one of these days we may not have any food. And so it's very important for us to take care of our bees and our butterflies. And so this hour-long program will be Thursday, September 18th at the Richfield Community Center at 7 p.m. And if you'd like more information, you can go to the Richfield Garden Council Facebook page, and we will have all the information. And then you can always call me. My phone number is 866-2683, and I can give you any information. But it's a very timely and worthwhile project.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Would everybody please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd ask the council's approval of the minutes of the special city council meeting of August 26, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Tonight we have some really fun presentations. We're going to start with a presentation of the 2014 Richfield and Bloom Awards.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Really quick. For 16 years, the Community Development Department has recognized residents' efforts to beautify their neighborhoods and strengthen the sense of community in the city of Richfield through an annual award program. New in 2014, we've had a name change to the program. It was previously known as the Landscape Good Neighbor Award and has now become Richfield in Bloom. We've also added a new category of the awards called the People's Choice Award, which is based on poll results from Richfield Connect. And then we've also implemented an online nomination form in addition to the traditional paper form that we've always had. This year, we received 37 nominations. Many of the properties were new to the being nominated. From the 37 nominations, 10 semifinalists were selected, and a team of judges chose 3 finalists from the pool. Properties were evaluated based on aesthetic appeal, materials used, maintenance, and neighborhood impact. The top 10 semi-finalists received $10 gift cards to Wagner's provided by Richfield Bloomington Credit Union, and the 3 finalists will also receive additional Wagner's gift cards. These 7 semifinalists listed were not selected as one of the top 3. However, they deserve honorable mentions for their beautiful yards and contributions to the community. Lynn Barden, 6932 Newton. Colin and Sue Harrison, 6208 13th. Ken and Gail Janes, 6216 3rd Avenue. Debbie Kelly, 6415 Wentworth Avenue. Natalie Maggi, 7200 Clinton. Alan and Maren Yole, 6701 Lakeview. And Amy Williams, 6843 Oliver. And now the winners of the 2014 Richfield and Bloom Awards. Eric Glad and Rick Perry, 2830 70 and a half Street West. Would also note that this home was a Richfield rediscovered home that was built in 2009. And as I hear tell, they've also won the Clark Griswold Award last year for their holiday lighting. Robert and Jody Peterson, who are here this evening, 7201 11th Avenue. A comment that was received that is very descriptive is that they are a real gem in Richfield. And Brian and Susan Thorson, 6844 Morgan Avenue. Comments included great corner lot, beautiful fence, landscaping and flowers, a real winner, color, variety, a pure delight. And as I mentioned, new this year we have the People's Choice Award. Photos of the top 10 finalists were posted in a slideshow on Richfield Connect and were voted on by Richfield residents. The winner of this category will receive an additional $20 gift card to Wagner's, again courtesy of Richfield Bloomington Credit Union. Drum roll, please. Brian and Susan Thorson, 6844 Morgan Avenue. Unfortunately, Brian and Susan, I know, could not be here this evening, but I know that Robert and Jody Peterson are here, if you'd like to come up, and I don't know if Eric Glad and Rick Perry. Oh, they're also here too, great, and would like to come up and receive your certificates, please.
Thank you very much.
It's always nice to see the positive things in Richfield like that, isn't it? And with that, we have another great presentation coming up from the Fred Babcock VFW, the Fort Nichols. Would you please come forward?
I'm Len Goodmanson. I'm the past commander of the 4-5s. I'm here to speak about some of the programs that the VFW offers in the community, some of the things that we do for the community. First off, I wish to thank the council for allowing me to come and speak. We have scholarship programs that are to be due on the 1st of November for senior high and junior high students. I can figure out what. We call it the Voice of Democracy. It's a 3 to 5 minute speech that is recorded, delivered to our VFW by the 1st of November. We then have a panel of judges sit down and listen to each program or each speech and see that they do stick to the subject matter, which this year is why veterans are important to our nation's history and future. We do this every year. The programs are ongoing. At the post level, at our post, we do award cash prizes of first place for $150, second place is $100, third place is $50. If they happen to win at the district level, which they're going against 25 other hosts, they would receive an additional $250. And if they win at the department level, at the state level, it would be a $2,000 cash prize, an all-expense paid trip for them, for the winner and their parents to Washington, D.C., where they will have guided tours. They will meet with the president, and they will be competing for a national prize of a $30,000 scholarship. Another thing I would like to mention is that our own mayor, Mayor Cotel, won her post-level Voice of Democracy when she was a senior. So we do have
Nice.
we do have winners around. Last year, we had one entry for the Voice of Democracy. Now, I'm hoping that this gets out to the community because it's for any 9th through 12th grader, whether they're homeschooled, parochial, public schools, all of them are eligible to enter our contest. We have the entry forms at our post over at 6715 Lakeshore Drive, and we ask that you come in, pick one up, complete this. It's a honor for us to be able to honor the students. For the junior high students, 6th, 7th, and 8th, it's a 300 to 400 word theme on why I appreciate America's veterans. Again, 150 at the district level, again, is another monetary prize, as well as the department level. The third one is that we honor our teachers in that we have a National Citizen Education Teacher Award, and that's we take one teacher from K through 5 for junior high, from 6 through 8, and one seniorized teacher. They get awarded at our post, and we honor them for promoting citizenship. So if you know of a teacher that promotes citizenship, again, have them come in. We've got the forms for filling out and getting the information to us and onto the department. A few other things that we do. You've all seen us about the third weekend in May. We are out at the corners at the grocery stores and that, distributing poppies. We do not sell poppies. We distribute them. If people wish to give us a donation, that's fine. That money stays at our post to help needy veterans. If somebody has a gas bill problem, we bring them in, they talk to one of our members, and the member decides if we can help this person. We have another program that's later on in the year. We honor EMTs, we honor police officers, firefighters. If there are the officials of that, any one of those come in and see me, we will get you information on how we can award them. And at our conference, at our convention in June, we honor a single EMT, bus driver of the year, all those we honor. The thing is that we do this as members of the community. We are here for the community, but the only way we can do it is to have members that are willing to come out and work with us. A member of the VFW is a person, male or female, that has served overseas in a war zone and has taken enemy fire. I invite any and all veterans to come and see us. Join our organization. Help us honor our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Please, go ahead.
You know, this, your presentation just goes to show that when we talk about veterans and they come back from war, they don't stop. They're always, they're involved in their community. They're always sharing and they're always giving. And believe me, you know, that's why I think this voice of democracy, at one time I did do the judging for, this was many years ago in the 90s, and it's just surprising that it really stirs, I think, a youngster's feelings about, you know, when they study history and how germane, you know, your service is to our history and to our future and to the fact that we're here and living in this great country. And so, you know, I thank you for all your great service in the past and currently. And I also want to acknowledge the 5 VFW auxiliary members. Yeah, these are friends. And when I served in the auxiliary, you know, we had a lot of fun. They know how to have fun, and they know how to take care of business. And then to other folks that I'll just put in a plug for the restaurant. You know, you know, I can't help it, but you know, that's where I go when I want liver and onions. It is the best. So, yeah. And sometimes if you're going to go, you know, to the fall meeting across the street, you can always stop by there and have 1 or 2 glasses of wine after the meeting. So, you know, what can I say? You guys do a good job. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. We have a presentation regarding the open streets of Penn Fest.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd just like to point out, if you hadn't noticed, Len Gunmanson is also the president of the Honoring All Veterans Memorial Group. So he puts in his time away from the VFW, and I know he likes the liver and onions as well. So I'm here to highlight a pretty big event that has been created just a couple of years ago. This is the 3rd time we're doing our Open Street at Penn Fest event, where we shut down the entire length of Penn Avenue here in Richfield on September 21st at noon. And so we're going to tell you a little about the event and some things that are new. And so one of the things that's new is we're actually, instead of a 5-hour event, we're condensing it down to 4 hours. We thought it was a little too long, and there's so much activity, we thought we'd just go, you know, make it even more colossal by shortening it a little bit. We kick off the event with a 5K run. It's a fundraiser for the school district, and they run right down the whole length of Penn and back, and it's a couple hundred runners. It's really fun to see. There's live music during those 4 hours. I think we have a total of 8 or 9 bands that are coming. Delicious food. There is quite a lot of that from our own restaurants like Fireside Pizza, Devani's, that sort of thing that are all involved, and a lot of people are eating at those establishments. But another thing new this year is we're introducing some food trucks, and we're placing them in some of the more empty areas to kind of fill in the avenue a little bit more. Every organization that's involved in this has to have some sort of activity for families or kids. And so when you come to this thing, you're just overwhelmed with the amount of things that you can do. And we have a farmer's market. We have a BMX demonstrations, again, back for the 3rd time from right in front of Penn Cycle. That draws the biggest crowd. A car show from Laramado. They've been doing their car show for 8 years now, I think. I talked to Dean Laram today, They're really a major contributor to this event, and we're so glad that they're so into it. And then lastly, just an opportunity to use Penn Avenue as a way to look at the street differently, to look at using a street other than driving a car on. And so a good portion of the event is just being able to ride your bike or walk down, the whole avenue, and that's kind of fun. So I'm going to show you last year's map, and this will give you an idea of the extent of the event. There's over 50 events that we publish on this map. And the last big change I'll tell you about is that we're condensing where we're putting all our activities. Last year we went from the Crosstown all the way to 74th. This year we're only going to go to 70th. So the south half of the event will be pretty vacant, and that's where we're hoping that people use their bicycles, their skateboards. We're hoping that the residents that live along the way can have maybe block parties, maybe enjoy the street out in front of their home without cars on it. And then lastly, I just want to go over the detours for this thing. If you're driving north on Penn Avenue to 76th Street, you'll detour west to York and then up the Crosstown, back to Penn Avenue, and then north from there into Minneapolis. And so that's our detours. We are allowing for east-west access through this area on 66th Street and 69th Street. There are stoplights there. Our police officers are there letting cars through, so you can still get through Richfield even though Penn Avenue is closed. And so now I'd like to introduce Gordon Hanson. Gordon is on our planning committee and represents Penn Central. Maybe some closing comments.
Well, thank you to the council for having us here tonight. And a lot of times people ask me, what is the purpose of Penn Fest? And I think it's really multifaceted. It's a great community building event. One thing I love about this event is when you're out walking that street, you see people of every age. I mean, you see young families pushing strollers. You see senior citizens out on the street. You see teenagers at that BMX bike demo. And so this is an event that really pulls in, I think, the entire cross-section of our community. And I think that that's what's really one of the really wonderful things about the event. So community building is one facet, but another is to draw attention to our local businesses on Penn Avenue. Give people an opportunity to walk and visit them and, see what businesses we have available so that they can hopefully, support our local businesses. And then I think, of course, one of the tenets of an open streets event is to get people out and active. And as Jim talked about, there's going to be just really a multitude of activities out on that street. There'll be sports played out on that street. I know this year I believe that Richfield Baseball is planning on having a wiffle ball game out on the street. And they're a first-time participant in Penn Fest this year, so we certainly welcome them. And I'd also like to characterize it as a day of discovery. And that is something that, even as a planner, I don't know 100% of everything that's going to happen on that street. Just today I heard of an activity that's going to be happening. It's the Secondhand Hounds, which is an animal rescue nonprofit that's going to be coming out. And they're going to be bringing out a booth. You always remember, and I've never seen this in real life, but you always remember those kind of cartoons where they would have the kissing booth, where you pay $1 something to kiss the pretty girl. Well, they're going to have a kissing booth, but it's not a young lady you're going to kiss. They're going to bring out canines who will give you a very happy smooch for a small donation to their animal rescue effort. So you'll certainly want to head out for that. And that's what I mean. It's really a day of discovery because there's going to be so much happening out on that street. Jim mentioned we have music on the street. We've hired some live musicians to be out there. We have 3 music staging areas. We have one area down by O'Neill Dental that's going to be bands playing kind of cover hits, popular hits of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We have another staging area at the First National Bank of the Lakes where the Richfield Symphonic Band is going to play, and Jim Berner is going to play. And Jim Berner is a Richfield resident who he tells the stories of some of the great musicians of the 40s and 50s, people like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, a lot of those kind of legendary names. And then he sings their songs. And he was at Open and Streets last year, and he's a very entertaining entertainer. And then at Lariat Lanes, we're going to go with some indie rock alternative bands. So we're going to really try to have a cross-section of music. Those actually indie rock alternative bands are one's Avenue Army, and another's band is called Yasin Marie. And so we're trying to really reach out to all generations, different musical styles in making this event appealing. One thing I would just want to mention is that we're going to be updating our website with new information absolutely every day from this point on. And so I would encourage people to check out our website, www.penncentralofrichfield.com. And, of course, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, because from this point on till September 21st, we're going to be making new announcements of things that are going to be happening out on Penn Avenue on that day. So it's really stacking up to be a very exciting day, and I certainly hope that everybody will turn out. Thank you.
Now, Gordon, excuse me, do you have country western music?
We don't have any country western music this year, but but who knows? Maybe next year we'll have that fourth staging area, and country western might
Well,
be
I
on the
would hope
bill.
so. Well, might as well.
Where are our food
yeah.
trucks? Do we have them locked down? Who is coming? Which
For-
food trucks?
Oh, for food trucks, we have some of their food licensing is still pending, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to be approved. But we have Anchor Fish and Chips is one, a fish and chips
Yeah.
food truck. Froyo Ma, I believe, which has some yogurt type dishes. We the tater tot, the Tot Boss, and I know that they've been around the community at some different events. They're going to be out for the event. Kona Shaved Ice is coming back for a second year,
Wonderful.
and then we have a few more, but I'd have to refer to my list I don't have in front of me to cite their names. But so that's going to be fun. We have the food trucks, but as Jim mentioned, we'll also have our businesses right on Penn Avenue, who will also, all of them will be serving that day, so there'll be really a cornucopia of eating choices that day.
Well, and I want to encourage people to look at the 5K because it's a walk and a run, and I'm actually putting a Team Go Tell together. So there'll be some people, and if you want to come walk with me, get a hold of me, send me an email or something like this, and we'll all do that 5K together. That's a really healthy, great way to start the event, isn't it?
That does. It really adds a lot of energy to the event, and the proceeds they raise from that go to help the PTOs of our elementary schools in Richfield.
Yep, wonderful. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing on that.
Great, thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
And next we have a caveat to the agenda. We have the Minnesota Magicians here. Would you please step forward with your young gentleman and come to the mic and introduce our guests here?
Just want to thank the council for having us here. My name's Tom Upton. I'm the head coach of the Magicians. Next to me is one of our players, Chris McKenzie, Paul O'Connor, and the president of our organization, Scott Meyer. I know last year, am I bending over too much?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
I know last year our team got very involved in the community here and wanted to thank you guys for having us and also for opening your doors in the community here for our team and giving our boys a place to play and chase their dreams of playing college hockey and hopefully put a good product on the ice. I know we got very involved last year in the community and we'd love to have a huge impact this year. So I know there are people from various foundations and clubs here tonight. Also, Mayor Debbie always likes to book us for different things like a 5K event that I think we're going to have some good athletes running on her team maybe
That'd be good.
that day possibly. So if there's anything that anyone ever needs, we would love to volunteer, love to get involved as much as we can. Obviously, you can speak with us here, but also we play right out of the Richfield Ice Arena, so you're welcome to come over there anytime and reach out to us if you need anything at all. You guys have anything?
Well, I just want to make a point here.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that concerns me is that, you're there and you're a big asset to Richfield, but I'd like to see you do a lot more in terms of advertisement.
Okay.
Because I think we need to have, if more youngsters, could attend, just to get started on going there. I mean, there's a lot they could learn, and it's a reasonable fee to attend, and I really think you need a lot more advertising to get people out.
Well, we appreciate that. And I think last year was our first year as an organization, so we were
Sure.
still working some things out. This year, we've got some great ideas to do what you're asking, is get the word out there more, and if anybody in this room can help to get the word out, come by, get some pocket schedules, whatever. We would love to obviously get our name out there as much as we can, and then help anybody else in return. So, thank you for that.
Councilmember Sando.
You've already started. I was at the Richfield Chamber of Commerce golf tournament today.
Okay.
And you sponsored a hole, which was great. And we met with one of your employees who was passing out schedules. So that was good.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think also if you put something there at the Richfield liquor stores, that would help.
Yeah, we could probably do that as well. Yeah, so that they could pick them up or put them in the bags as they go home with that.
There's a lot of people that
yeah.
are vegetarians, and they go in there to buy grapes in a bottle.
Is that that wine? Is that that wine you're talking about earlier, Mrs.
Yes.
Garcia? All right.
I do want to say too that, a lot of these young kids come to play and they need houses to stay, and there were some really nice Richfield residents that opened up their homes so that some of these kids could be in and around and close by, and Bloomington and I believe Egan and Eden Prairie. So it's really nice that people feel the same way I guess a lot of us do. It's nice to have these young men here playing hockey and be a part of our community.
Absolutely. And thank you for opening up your doors and, like I said, giving these guys a home to play and also a home to live. A lot of the players, we've got 3 players from Germany on our team this year, from Canada, from Connecticut, from St. Louis, all over the country. So thank you.
Mhm.
Is that it?
Thanks. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. We move to council discussion. Hats off to Hometown Hits. Tom, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had fun the other day. Decided to take a tree down across from my house. So, in preparation for this big event, I decided to get my iPad out, a cup of coffee, and my cushion, and move my car, of course. But what was interesting is we got a chipper now that eats a whole tree.
Oh, my gosh.
And I don't know if anybody's seen this
No.
monstrosity. And I'm used to them cutting a tree down limb by limb and picking it up and throw it in. They basically drop the tree in the street, cut off a little section, and the guy kind of nicks all the branches so it goes together. A big arm picks it up, and it shoots in there. So needless to say, in about 15 minutes, they had the tree down, and they were gone. Wow. And I went, I was expecting at least a half-hour entertainment, so I was disappointed. But I thought it was a really neat thing, and I think the citizens ought to see that thing. It is a monster.
Maybe we could get a video.
That
clip
would
of
that would be a awesome. Oh, I tried to take one, and I didn't even get time to set it up on my iPad to take the video.
That'd
That's
been
how
cool,
fast.
isn't it?
But I want to say that's an awesome piece of equipment, and I can see that we're probably going to need it with the elm disease or the emerald ash borer, and they do a fantastic job, and it's just like a bunch of ants moving around, and they're in and gone. So thanks to the city for that.
Councilmember Sandal.
I have nothing tonight.
Councilmember Garcia.
Well, I just wanted to commend the staff. I think under Mr. Devich's leadership, I think all the, we recently reviewed and, the budget. And it's a very challenging thing, I think, to come in and to be as lean as you can. And, and I think several council members remarked that there's no fat. So I think that's something we've got to be proud of. And they all produced a budget that was crafted in a way that we took advantage of an awful lot of things that, that saved us money or that we could, we could utilize different services that we hadn't thought about. So I think you've done a good job with the department heads, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I would just add, if anybody wants to watch or see the budget presentation, go to our website. It's on there now, but we're going to feature it more. I think that you can spend as much time as you want going through it. I mean, if you want to spend just a few minutes going through the highlights, you can do that. If you want to spend an hour or more going through it, you can do that. But I think you'd find it interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Elliott.
Yeah, interesting is a It's an interesting word. I'd like to echo what Councilmember Garcia said, that it starts with the city manager and goes through the staff and the presentation. We sign off on it, but all the work is done before we get to the budget. And I think I'm like Edwina is, you appreciate the work that goes into it in the presentation, and you continually appreciate how a lean budget, but the city doesn't suffer, and we get everything done and we do it well. And once again, I think a lot of times, citizens, everything may look to the mayor, to the city council, but 99% of the work is done before it ever gets up to Dace here, and all we're doing is approving it, and I appreciate that because it makes me look good and I don't have to do the heavy lifting, so.
Don't tell little secrets, though.
I don't think it's much of a secret.
So one of the things I did want to mention, we just had the magicians up here. You can get season tickets, and I have my passes, and I quite often take guests with me. But the first game is September 26th, and I believe I'm dropping the puck. Is that correct this year again? So I will be out there, so that's always a fun time. Well, we have some of our fun mascots around there too, for the kids and stuff, magicians and such. It's a great time. Make sure to bring your family, get down to the ice arena, or go up online and just, if you Google Minnesota Magicians, you'll get right to their website. So I encourage people to go. The games are fabulous. So thank you for coming tonight. I'd ask council approval of the agenda as it stands.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the consent calendar. City manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those in the audience, both here and at home, the consent calendar contains several items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once that consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and all the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further City Council action on these items would be necessary. Tonight, we have a handful of items on the consent calendar. We start with item A, which is consideration of the approval of the resolutions pertaining to the annual Lindale Hub Nicollet, or LHN, maintenance assessment process and scheduling a public hearing for October 14th, 2014. Item B is consideration of the approval of the resolutions pertaining to the annual 77th Street Maintenance District Assessment process and scheduling a public hearing for October 14th, 2014. Item C is consideration of the approval of a resolution declaring the costs to be assessed for the removal of diseased trees from private property for work ordered in 2013 and scheduled a public hearing for October 14th, 2014. Item D is consideration of the approval of a resolution declaring costs to be assessed and ordering the preparation of the proposed assessment roll for weed elimination from private property and removal or elimination of public health or safety hazards from private property, and setting the public hearing for October 14th, 2014. Item E is consideration of the approval of a resolution declaring costs to be assessed and ordering preparation of the proposed assessment roll for unpaid false alarm user fees against private property, and setting the public hearing for October 14th, 2014. Item F is consideration of the approval of the purchase of a fire pumper chassis for $181,681 in 2014, and for a fire pumper body for $244,613 in 2015, totaling $426,294 from Rosenbauer Firefighting Technology. Folks, fire trucks are very expensive.
Yes.
They last a long time. They are extremely expensive. Item G is consideration of the approval of a 5-year lease agreement with the Minnesota Department of Health for air monitoring equipment located at the Richfield Water Treatment Facility. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions, council? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Councilmember Sandal, you have item 8.
Thank you, Your Honor. This will be a public hearing. It's a consideration of a resolution reprogramming funds from the 2013 and 2014 Community Development Block Grant Allocations, CDBG is the abbreviated word for that, from the Penn Avenue Facade Program to Penn Avenue Streetscape Improvements. And each year the city is awarded community development block grants, funding on a formula basis from the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. And Richfield has allocated a portion of these funds to address local needs related to affordable housing, community development, and public services. And the city designated $60,419 in 2013 and the same number in 2014 to its Penn Avenue Facade Improvement Program, which would provide no-interest loans to Penn Avenue businesses making exterior improvements to their properties. And due to the federal administrative requirements and in order to spend the funds within the required time limits, city is proposing to reprogram some of these funds in order to make Penn Avenue streetscape improvements. And the funds would be used to make improvements such as pedestrian level lighting, sidewalk improvements, benches, planters, and trash receptacles in the public right-of-way along Penn Avenue between Crosstown 62 and 67th Streets. And because this is a new activity and under the CDBG guidelines, it required a 30-day written comment period. There was a notice of a public comment period published in the Sun Current on August 7th, and written comments were accepted through September 8th, and no written comments were received. And I don't know if staff wants to share any more of the thoughts about this.
Thank you. Yeah, basically, we had initially wanted to use these funds to provide deferred loans for property owners along Penn Avenue businesses along there to invest in facade improvements to their buildings. Unfortunately, once we got into the details with Hennepin County, we found out that it would be very, very difficult to administer the program. There's a lot of federal regulations regarding wage laws, and it would be nearly impossible to administer the program that way. So we put our heads together and came up with an alternative use that would still benefit the corridor there, Penn Avenue, and that's to make some streetscape improvements to help improve the pedestrian experience along there with pedestrian scale lighting and some ADA compliant sidewalks and benches and things like that.
So, and this is a public hearing.
The public hearing is open. Would anyone like to come forward to speak about the CDBG reprogramming? Anyone? This is a public hearing.
I'll move to close.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is closed.
And with that, Your Honor, I would move that we approve a resolution authorizing the reprogramming of funds for the 2013 and 2014 Urban Hennepin County CDBG Block Grant Program from the Penn Avenue Facade Program to Penn Avenue Streetscape Improvements, and authorizing execution of any required agreements with Hennepin County.
I'll second.
And then I would just speak to it. I know the whole city council is obviously aware of a high priority of improving the Penn Avenue, the whole streetscape, making it a better and more attractive business district for the residents. And so this is one more thing that I think will be helpful.
It'll be nice for
So,
the
Yeah.
continued festival we have there, too.
Yeah, yeah. And if you've ever biked or walked, as
I have.
we have, along the sidewalks, you know the difference between things that have been improved and things that are not.
Yep. Hopefully this
So,
will help everybody.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Fitzhenry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item I have is item number 9 in the agenda. It's consideration of an amendment to the city's zoning ordinance and summary publication of said ordinance. The proposed amendment will eliminate the city-appointed hearing examiner positions and designate the Planning Commission as the deciding body for the variance applications beginning in 2015. City staff continually monitors and notes areas of the zoning code that may require review and revision. In the course of this review, staff has identified an administration process that is no longer efficient. Under current code regulations, standalone variance requests, in other words, variances that are not part of another land use application, are considered by an appointed committee of hearing examiners. This committee is typically comprised of 2 residents appointed by the city manager and confirmed by the council. Over the past decade, the number of standalone variances requested has steadily declined. Since 2010, there have only been 5 applications. The committee of hearing examiners serves for a term of 2 years. In late 2013, appointed hearing examiner Paul Wasco resigned. Given that there are only 1 or 2 hearings per year, a replacement has not yet been appointed. Current hearing examiner Connie Murray terms expires in 2014. Staff is proposing that following the expiration of Ms. Murray's term, consideration of variance requests be returned to the Planning Commission. A separate process heard before a separate committee no longer seems necessary. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the attached ordinance amending section 547.05 subdivision 4 and subsection 547.11 related to the consideration of variance applications, and that we also approve the attached resolution authorizing summary publication of an ordinance amending the city's zoning ordinance. Changes are related to processing of variance applications by the Planning Commission.
Second.
I just,
Go ahead,
I,
Councilmember.
I just wanted to say that we should really also thank Paul Wasco and Connie Murray for the time that they have given to be hearing examiners. I think they've done it for a long time, and we really appreciate, their support and their help.
And may I just ask one quick question of staff? Would that still allow residents of their variance to come also to the council if they so chose to do so?
Upon appeal, they could come to the council, yes, if they disagreed with the decision of the Planning Commission. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Motion carries. Item number 10, Councilmember Garcia.
Okay, this is a consideration of a revised resolution for land use approval at 6736 Penn Avenue, which is Fireside Pizza. The revised resolution approves a conditional use permit and front setback variance, in addition to now approving a variance for a reduced parking requirement. On August the 26th, the council approved requests for a conditional use permit and variances related to the front building setback and parking at the Fireside Pizza location. The resolution contained in the 26th of August report was based on a recommendation to deny the requested parking variance and instead pursue an ordinance change related to parking throughout the Penn Avenue corridor. In order to legally grant a variance, a resolution with explicit findings demonstrating that the requested variance meets all specified criteria must be approved. The attached resolution has been revised for City Council review and approval. The findings in the attached resolution have been based on staff understanding of what the council's intent is on this matter. The resolution finds a variance for parking is reasonable in order to allow an expansion that will include bringing the existing building into compliance with ADA, fire, and other current code standards. The findings state that this area of the community is unique within the city and that current parking standards are unrealistic and should be modified in the near future. Further, the resolution concludes that the requested parking variance will not alter the character of the neighborhood because area residents have come to expect some spillover traffic from commercial businesses. And finally, the resolution forecasts an overall policy change that will reduce parking requirements in this area by a magnitude that would make the property compliant and therefore finds that the requested variance is the minimum necessary to proceed without unreasonable delay. And I just wanted to speak to this. Normally, I don't think I would support this, but I do think there's two things here that, we're talking about Penn Avenue, and we keep talking about what a unique situation that is and the many constraints that businesses have in dealing with buildings and expansions And I would hope that, the other thing is that they're not gonna add any seating capacity, so I think this makes it reasonable. But I would hope also, and I'm gonna ask, staff if staff has encouraged the owner to maybe seek, parking for their own particular employees, so that it would lessen, make sure that they have enough parking for their customers.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we have provided the applicant with additional contacts in the area. I'm not sure if he has contacted those property owners, but we have encouraged that.
Good, because I know, for example, take Mr. Devich, I think when we had the old city hall, I know that he made employees that live in Richfield, he almost wanted them to walk to work, no matter how far they lived. I'm just teasing, I'm sorry. But I mean, that's really kind of what you have to do. You have to make sure that, that employees park as far away as they can to allow the customers to really have an adequate place to park, so that they can enjoy and come to the restaurant. So that's all I have to say on that. So I will, I don't know if other.
You want to make a motion first?
Gotta make a motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve the attached resolution granting a conditional use permit and variances for a 22.6-foot front building setback and a 6-stall parking requirement reduction in order to allow a building addition at 6736 Penn Avenue Fireside Pizza.
Second.
Discussion.
If I may, on occasion, Councilmember Garcia and myself, I'm almost making this sound as reciprocal. I have a habit of stepping on your toes occasionally, and for that I apologize. But I will tell you in this instance that I can pretty much see that restaurant out my back door, and if he doesn't do exactly as you suggested, I will be an irate citizen as opposed to an irate council member, and hold him to what you asked him to do. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions or comments? I think this is a good resolution, and
I do too.
I supported it before as well. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott, you have the next 2 items.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the consideration of a process to amend the zoning ordinance as it pertains to the regulation of odor emissions. The zoning ordinance currently contains fairly minimal language pertaining to the emissions of odors. This is addressed in section 544.27 as follows. Environmental effects. No activity or operation shall be established or maintained that by reason of its nature or manner of operation will cause the emission of noise, odor, toxic or noxious fumes, smoke, dust, or particulate matter in such concentrations as to be detrimental to or endanger the public health, welfare, comfort, or safety, or cause injury to property or business. Since the fall of 1986, it has been the practice of city staff to interpret this language to imply that emissions from a commercial kitchen with a Type 1 ventilation hood, if required by the Minnesota Building Code, would emit odors to a degree that would be detrimental to the public comfort of adjacent residential properties. As such, restaurants emitting such odors would either be prohibited or would require some form of mechanical or chemical odor control device. Discussions with former city employees have indicated that this interpretation was based on city council direction, resulting from vocal public objection to the impacts of odor caused by Champ's Restaurant. Recent restaurants that have installed complying odor control devices include Pizza Luce, Miyama Adali, Lynn 65, El Tejaban, and most recently My Burger, which is required as a condition of approval. In the case of Lake Winds Co-op, the adjacent residential is planned but not yet constructed. In this circumstance, staff required Lake Winds to design an odor control system and to ensure that their building could accommodate that system in the future if there are complaints from future residential neighbors. The city attorney has advised that an abrupt change in the way staff administers the code as it pertains to odors without a formal change in policy could lead former applicants to the conclusion that the ordinance is being applied in an arbitrary and capricious manner. There's agreement among staff, the city council, and the business community via the Chamber of Commerce that the language in the current zoning ordinance lacks the specificity for property owners to understand expectations and for staff to properly enforce it in accordance with public will. Staff is recommending, therefore, a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to odor control. The city code outlines a process for changes to the zoning ordinance. Based on that required process, staff is recommending the following actions. September 9th, the City Council directs staff to initiate the process and gives general guidance regarding the wording of the proposed amendment. October 27th, the Planning Commission holds a public hearing to consider the proposed amendment. November 10th or 12th, the City Council conducts a first reading of the proposed amendment. And November 25th, the City Council considers the proposed amendment. Based on past experiences in administering odor control requirements, past reaction from businesses and residents, and recent discussions with the City Council, staff is suggesting that odor control be addressed separately in the zoning ordinance as follows. Commercial kitchen odor control. All properties that contain cooking apparatus which necessitates the installation of a Type 1 ventilation hood and which abut or are located with 150 feet, even if not abutting, of residential and/or residentially zoned property shall mitigate or otherwise address the impact of odors as follows. New restaurant sites abutting or adjacent to existing residential and/or residentially zoned properties shall install professionally designed odor control remedies. New restaurant sites abutting or adjacent to future residential development, either as a result of the comprehensive plan or an approved development plan, or pre-existing restaurant sites which are intensifying cooking equipment and/or odor emissions abutting or adjacent to existing residential and/or residentially zoned property shall provide plans for a professionally designed odor control remedy and a statement by a structural engineer that the building design could accommodate the planned odor control in the future. Subsequent complaints of odor impacts may result in the requirement that the planned odor control device be installed. Administrative exemptions. The Community Development Director shall have the authority to exempt uses from meeting the odor control requirements with a written finding that any of the following apply. A, the proposed commercial kitchen is for institutional or similar use that will have limited hours of operation and/or minimal usage. B, it would be impossible or highly impractical, based on the information provided by a structural engineer or similar professional, for the structure of an existing or improved as proposed building to accommodate an odor control device, and the impact of the proposed changes are not expected to be detrimental to the public health, safety, welfare, or comfort. The rationale for treating pre-existing restaurants or new restaurants adjacent to future residential development differently is because occupants in such situations were aware of the existence and potential impacts of the restaurant site in question before they decided to purchase or rent their home. City staff and city council and the business community, as represented by the Chamber of Commerce, agree that the existing language in the zoning ordinance regarding odor control is inadequate and imprecise, and there have been 2 appeals related to odor control submitted to the City Council within the past 2 months. Policy considerations include that at the August 26th meeting, the City Council instructed staff to initiate a zoning ordinance amendment as it relates to odor control, and the City Code requires any amendment to the zoning ordinance to go before a public hearing of the Planning Commission, which requires published legal notice and a first and second reading by the City Council. The City Council may grant an appeal to a pending appeal applicant prior to the actual change in the zoning ordinance at its discretion, as long as there are reasonable rationale. With that being said, at this time, I would move to direct staff to initiate a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to the regulation of odor emissions.
I'll second.
I would like to just comment on the fact that laying this over was at the motion of Councilmember Garcia, and I think it goes without question I was upset at not dealing with it at that time. But upon reflection, sometimes, and I've said this more than once, my temper gets control of my mind and my mouth, and for that, I can apologize, but I can guarantee it'll happen again. But So Councilmember Garcia, with her experience and background in governmental issues and everything, obviously saw the forest through the trees, which I didn't see. For that, I appreciate it. And more importantly, the fact that staff, and one of the things that I'd mentioned in my so-called soliloquy was that the staff needed to be given direction and tools so that we could make things work in the city, and they had to be afforded the opportunity to at least take a shot at it. And I really, we've talked about, Councilmember Garcia and myself, about the city manager and the staff and how well they work together and how much they protect us from our own faults. And this is one example of it, and I really appreciate getting it here. I can't say how it's going to go or anything else, but the fact that it's here speaks volumes for your professionalism and the way you people work, and I really appreciate it.
Councilmember Garcia.
Well, now I'm going to feel bad, but I'm going to vote against this, and one of the things that I've always respected is process. And this is a governing body, and we're here for a reason, and I think we have to take an awful lot of things into consideration, including other restaurants, whether they're pre-existing or new restaurants. And the thing is, to me, it's a fairness issue. You know, I think a lot of restaurants that are going to have to put one of these in, or that had to put one in, I'm sure that it was a burden for them because they do cost money. And but the other thing is that I do believe that other restaurant operators, managers, or owners, or whatever, have worked well with staff and kind of have accepted the fact, well, this is an ordinance and, we have to follow it or whatever. And they have worked and attempted to work well with staff, and I think we need to work with owners that come forth, and if they want to appeal, that's fine. But I think you have to have a goodwill effort in trying to make things work, in trying to have a dialogue with not only the council and the planning commission and the staff, but all of that is part of a process. And I've said over and over, there's a challenge in that area. We're going to meet with Congressman Keith Ellison on the 15th, I believe. And one of the things that I'm going to suggest to him is that he work on our behalf. And I don't believe in this, a lot of no longer earmarks. I don't believe in that. That's a bunch of BS. This is I wouldn't consider this like that type of an earmark, but that Penn Avenue should be declared an enterprise zone, so that we can come together as from the federal government and work to try to ease up on some of the regulations, to try to make sure that they get that there's funding and that it's favorable taxing, just all an array of things that will make that happen, because the Penn Avenue is not going to go anywhere until we start thinking and looking at the fact that it's got to be more, the development's it's going to have to move back so that it can take a whole block to really develop and have restaurants or bowling alleys or whatever it is that you're going to have there, so that you can have something that is not going to be just a storefront that just does piddly business. We want something that has a lot of potential and that we can invest in, and that's the reason why I'm voting no on this.
Councilmember?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am in favor of this, and I thank you for fixing my grandfather clause I asked for, because I do feel that we have some institutions and businesses in Richfield that need to stay open for business, and we need to send a message Richfield is open for business. I know if we had maybe gone the other way on this, other businesses are looking at the same thing, trying to expand their business, make it ADA compliant. Actually, the fire thing was a big issue because of our water supply. They went overboard in doing that, and sometimes we got to have a little flexibility too in what they like. Councilman Elliott says one size doesn't fit all in Richfield, because there are some areas where the chute just doesn't gonna not fit the foot. And so I thank staff for going through all this. Thank the chamber for their direction on this, because it's nice to know what other businesses think of us. And I really wanted to do this so we send the message out to all the developers out there, all the businesses. We're not trying to chase you out of Richfield. We're trying to work with you to get a solution. So that's why I'm in favor of this.
And I want to comment that actually I have some problems with the fairness issue as well. But I also have a problem with, under the pre-existing restaurant sites, the Part B. I'm concerned about some of that language and what that really means and how that will impact and how that would be interpreted, especially if you could find a structural engineer that would say that this can't happen or it's impractical. And does that not then leave us teeth to go back if the neighborhoods are still highly impacted by odors? And so that is some of my problem about some of the wording and some of the information in that. So I'm not in favor of this as it's written currently. I think we need teeth.
I would like to ask staff how this particular language as being proposed would apply to the current site that we're discussing, the Fireside Pizza.
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members, maybe before I answer that question, just to address a couple of other issues. One is, we did have an appeal from Yi Li Yu, I believe was her name, a couple of months ago, and we had the appeal from Fireside Pizza. As far as I know, those were the only appeals that have happened in 25 years. Having said that, though, from the time community development took over inspections maybe 5 or so years ago, and that's when I became familiar with this language and the way it was practiced and interpreted. And I was never comfortable with the language as it stands. I think that it's not very directive. It's open to a lot of interpretation. My goal with the zoning code is always that a developer or a business can open up the zoning code and understand the expectations that are put upon them. When you read what the existing code says, I don't think anybody would really understand what's expected of them. So regardless of how it's changed, I do think it should be changed. Secondly, there are a couple of administrative exemptions in here that are noted. One is that the staff is probably going to err on the side of being maybe overly enforcement on those, solely because somebody can still appeal to you. This doesn't keep the appeal from happening. So I would err on the side of being, more, having more odor control. With regards to the Fireside Pizza appeal, which is the next item on the agenda, and I don't know if things have changed since then, but last week I spoke with the contractor for the site and kind of read through this with him. I attempted to talk to the property owner as well, but he was unavailable. And the contractor, his response on the exemptions piece is that, well, because the addition is new, then you can build it to be able to accommodate an odor control. So, his feeling was, well, gosh, as long as somebody's building an addition on or doing something different, that issue of it being impossible or highly impractical for the structure of an existing building to accommodate the device, that wouldn't apply in the case of Fireside Pizza, was the impression I got last week. That may have changed. So, I don't want to get too far into the next item, but that's how I heard it.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, if the wording of my motion was direct staff to initiate a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to the regulation of odor emissions, and what I read was a proposal, or at least the language was proposed by staff. We got 2 weeks to tweak it and get it in a form. I find it highly unlikely that a certified civil engineer, an engineer that would look at this, that has to sign and put a seal on it, is going to falsify a document. That's the same thing as an attorney
There are ways to look
falsifying.
at things as an
Well-
engineer, too, just like lawyers do, though.
Well, engineers are much more black and white than attorneys, so if they're doing that, then they went to a bad school, or they should have their certification withdrawn. But, I mean, we have to rely on professionals, and being doubting Thomases maybe isn't the best way to address the problem that we see here. But I understand that, but once again, this is a proposal, and my guess is that staff, I've become aware of the fact in the last couple months on some of the letters that have come out of this from staff that they're quite wonderful wordsmiths. And my guess is they can come up with some language and everything that's going to satisfy even your concerns.
And with that, and I appreciate that, but the planning commission as well, you know, this would go to the planning commission in a public hearing. They'd be hearing from residents. So I think that the language here is a starting place, and where it ends up will be a result of that public input.
Councilmember?
Okay, I feel better, thank you. It's helpful to be reminded of the process, and that this is a proposal and that it can be tweaked in the next ongoing weeks as things go forward. I also appreciate hearing from you that the existing language in the ordinance doesn't work, and that this hopefully would be an improvement. So I'm going to support it.
Any other comments? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay. Item 12?
Mayor, this item is a consideration of appeal of the Community Development Director's determination that odor control would be required for additional commercial cooking devices at 6736 Penn Avenue. At the August 26th meeting, the City Council considered an odor control appeal to Fireside Pizza at 6736 Penn Avenue. After a lengthy discussion of this appeal, the council adopted a motion to continue the item until the September 9th, 2014 meeting so that staff would have the opportunity to reconsider the overall odor control policy and its application to this particular property based on the content of that discussion. Since that time, staff has recommended a revision to the way odor control is addressed in the zoning ordinance. If the City Council is significantly in agreement with the suggested changes, then the proposed amendment language would provide some rationale for lessening the odor control requirements for Fireside Pizza. Based on staff's recommendation for the overall odor control policy, staff is suggesting that the applicant, in this case, Fireside Pizza, be required to either, 1, provide plans for a professionally designed odor control remedy and a statement by a structural engineer that the building design could accommodate the planned odor control in the future. Furthermore, the applicant should understand that future complaints of odor impacts may result in the requirement that the planned odor control device be installed, or 2, provide a letter from a structural engineer or architect attesting that it would be impossible or highly impractical for the building, as proposed, to accommodate an odor control device. In either case, staff would like the City Council to state its desire for the applicant to continue looking for other potential solutions to reduce the potential impact of odor. Policy considerations is, at the August 26th meeting, we had discussed the overall odor control policy and its administration and enforcement. As a result of this discussion, staff was directed to consider a revised odor control policy. Under ideal circumstances, a variation from the existing policy would be delayed until a new policy was formally approved. The applicant's construction plans, however, may not allow enough time for this to occur. And with that being said, at this time, I would move to approve the attached resolution granting an appeal of odor control requirements for 6736 Penn Avenue.
Second.
I just want to say that I could, and we had discussed this at the last meeting, that I could approve this, but not with item 2 on the provide a letter of a structural engineer or architect attesting to this would be impossible or highly impractical. If we could remove that, I would move forward, but otherwise I will vote against.
Madam Mayor, and I just wanted to clarify some of the discussion that occurred a couple of weeks ago. I heard the word scrubber used several times, and a scrubber is one way of addressing odors. There are other ways. Other restaurants have done it in different ways. What city staff doesn't, what city staff has done is said, applicant, you need to propose an odor control remedy. We have never told them, do this one this way or this one that way. Every building is different. There are people that specialize in odor control. City staff certainly doesn't specialize in that. And so there may very well be other remedies other than a quote-unquote scrubber. I know the McDonald's at 67th and Lindale did something different than a scrubber. And so, again, what we're looking for here is some way to reduce the odors, whether that's a scrubber or some other mechanism. So I just wanted to clarify on that.
Okay. Councilmember?
If I may, and I know Mr. Starkey indicated earlier that you'd had some communication with the contractor for Fireside, and he'd indicated that when you're doing it, it's a new addition, and everything. So the impracticality probably doesn't come into play. But is it permissible? I think that there's either an engineer or a contractor with Mr. Thompson this time that may have something to add to the discussion.
Possibility? Please state your name and the business you're working with.
My name is John Bartell. I work for Commercial Air Design. First of all, I apologize for my appearance. I didn't know I'd be in a city council meeting here this evening. I just got off a roof in Mankato where we're installing a hood system right now. I've been installing commercial hood systems in restaurants for 32 years. We actually did the scrubber system in the Champs on Lindale in 1985 with Bud Nielsen and Nielsen Sheet Metal. You had mentioned there have been some complaints about the odor there. That system was one of the most sophisticated at the time that was installed, a 3-stage system with HEPA filters, electrostatic precipitators, and charcoal. The only thing that removes smells from the air is charcoal. At this time, that's the only thing that's known that will actually remove a smell. Otherwise, all you're doing is masking it with different chemical agents. The reason that system was installed at the time is because we were on the first floor of a 15, 16-story senior citizens high-rise, and we had to do something to get rid of the odor. And Richfield, of course, is farming out to Bloomington for their health, and Dick Holloway had to approve what occurred, and we finally got it by him. Richfield and Bloomington are the only two communities in the entire 7-county metropolitan area that make a requirement for any type of pollution control system to be put in a restaurant that's a single-story structure. Upblast fans are used, and what Minneapolis has started to do is to require that cleaning efforts be upgraded and monitored by city inspectors. If the grease is there, it's going to stink. There's no getting around it. The way to control it is to control the cleaning of the hood system as it occurs on a yearly process. If you clean it, it will not stink. Once the grease is there, it will stink no matter what you do to it. So instead of trying to mask smells from grease, it would be better just to remove the grease. And because the scrubbers are $50,000, $60,000 systems, this is a PCU system here that has been installed at Scarpino's in Richfield, and this is a $25,000 to $30,000 system. It's about 900 pounds on a building. The structural engineer is only going to approve the weight of the device being put on the building. The professional engineer will approve or disapprove the use of the device. The architect will just tell you that it looks good, or it can be handled within the realm of the look and the ambiance that they're asking for at the building. So, you know, it's a little bit of an issue where you had mentioned before, we're trying to make Penn Avenue look good. We're trying to have the existing buildings upgrade what they have. Fireside Pizza's in a position where Pizza Luce opened in down the street. They have to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. They're trying to do what they can to improve their business, but they're within the constraints of what they have to work with. Mr. Elliott, you said that right outside your back door you can look and see Fireside Pizza. Have you had smell complaints?
Not in 30 years.
We're not changing the menu.
I understand you're having deep fryers. You're adding deep fryers. That was in our memo.
Yeah, and I don't know Staff
saw a new menu.
Yeah, staff was told that the menu was changing
The
completely.
menu was changing and that we were
Yeah,
adding
there,
gift
there,
cards.
there's a few things that are being added, but,
That's pretty significant.
well, they've been cooking a lot of items that have pungent smells too. And I guess, my point is, if the menu isn't being changed to the point where it's going to increase a load bearing on the smell factor, then, as they're trying to remodel their business and keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, to have to put in a extra anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000 into a system that may or may not work, as has been previously mentioned, I don't know that, if there's no existing complaints.
Mr. Barthel, if I may, is that, it's Barthel, correct?
Pardon me?
Mr. Barthel, is that?
Yes.
Okay. I guess the $64,000 question is not the relative cost of the difference between a scrubber or the method that you're talking about. But the question is, can the building be designed to accommodate the addition of that equipment if in fact there are complaints in the future? Because that's what paragraph number 1 says.
Yes,
It just
can.
has to be designed to accommodate the installation of that process if in fact complaints come and they can't be resolved. So that's what paragraph 1 says. So I guess what I'm asking you, so whether it's a professional design control remedy or a statement by a structural engineer, the building's going to be constructed that if in fact it becomes necessary, it will accommodate that odor control device. All right, thank you.
That could be done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
So, and I guess, Mayor, if that...
I would still go that I will approve this if item 2 is dropped out.
Right,
of
and
the
I'm saying
resolution.
I don't see the need, well,
So I will amend it. May I make a friendly amendment to your motion to approve this with the caveat that we remove item 2 out of the resolution?
second.
Any other?
Well, do we need to withdraw my?
No, I make an amendment.
It's a friendly amendment.
The friendly
to accept
amendment.
it.
Yep, I second.
Councilmember?
If I had a letter that it would be, okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have item 13.
No, that was just the amendment, wasn't it?
Is it, well, the amendment, and do we need the motion? to
Yeah,
amend?
now we need the
All
full
those in
motion.
favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you. It was good work. We'll keep moving on it. The next is a consideration of the, excuse me, Edwina, this is your item.
Yes,
I almost got your item. Go ahead, take it.
I know, because you're wearing the shirt.
I know, and I just thought I would assign it to myself, but I didn't because you wanted it.
This is consideration of the attached rental agreement between the city and the Minnesota Magicians for use of the newly constructed locker room. Oops, okay. The Richfield Ice Arena has become the home to Minnesota's newest Tier 2 junior hockey team, the Minnesota Magicians. To accommodate the team, the city has constructed an additional locker room to Rink 1. The new 1,900 square foot locker room is now complete and ready for the team to rent. And these are the highlights of the agreement. The base rent would be $4,155 per month. The term will begin September and go through August the 31st, 2029. And every 5 years, they can renegotiate or terminate. Either side can terminate, but they need a 90-day written notice. The ice time, the team will receive up to 200 non-prime hours for practices free of charge and up to 120 free ice hours for games each year. And then the beer and the vegetable wine sales. The team will receive all proceeds from the sale of strong beer and wine during the games in Rink 1. And concessions, the city will receive all proceeds from the sale of the concessions in the lobby area during the Magician's game. There's an incentive program, and I'm not going to go into that because I'll have Jim talk about that. The Magicians will also hold all advertising rights in Rink 1 and Rink 2. That includes the dasher boards, player benches, and seating sections, nets, zambonis, scoreboards, and Rink 1 restrooms. And the city will hold sole advertising rights in the lobby area. And if we could have Mr. Topsenhofer tell us about the incentive program, that'd be great.
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm really happy to bring this rental agreement forward. We've worked on this a long time. The Minnesota Magicians have been at our arena for more than a year. They've had a whole season under their belt to get to know that business a little better and what works for them, what doesn't, and we've had the same thing. In the same amount of time, we've brought on a new arena manager. So, you know, in that amount of time, we've really wanted to accomplish one goal, and that was to create a balance that was good for the Magicians. I mean, we need to make sure financially that they're going to make it for 15 years. And so I think this agreement does that. And at the same time, the city of Richfield shouldn't lose out on any money as if they weren't here. I mean, we should be coming out ahead. I think that does it. And the incentive program that you asked about, I think is a key player there. This agreement calls for a giving away of ice time. We're giving away the practice time to up to 200 hours. Well, it's at a time where no one would be using our arena. It'd be during school, that sort of thing. And but we're still losing the income that we would have otherwise sold on the game time. And so we have to make up for that money. And one way of doing it is we have a new skate sharpener, and we're going to be bringing in new revenue that way. Another way is during the Magician's Games, we're going to take the 100% of the proceeds of the concessions that we have in the lobby. But the third way is this incentive program. And so the Magicians are affiliated with a group called Exceed Hockey, and they provide camps, kind of a training program for up-and-coming hockey players. And so they're able to attract new business into the ice arena that way. And so for the hours that we don't sell during the summer months, which I think is April 1st through September 31st, they're going to be bringing in new business. And we're going to give them a discount on that, give them a break on their rent, but we're going to keep 80% of that new money coming in. And the cap on that is $9,000. And so that potentially, if we were to reach that cap, brings in another $45,000 new money to the arena. So we think that's a win-win. And again, it's all trying to make that balance happen of making it work for them and us too.
And may I add one more comment to your, I know we're having beer and wine sales during the games, but that's only during those games for the Magicians. So anybody who has other concerns about what the exposure is, and I have been there where they've had a little bit of beer from Champs, and I thought they did a really great job at policing that quite well, and I did have to show ID, even when they knew who I was. Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's one of the concerns that came from some of our representatives when they passed this, that we have a good control, and I think Richfield does this very well.
Well, and I think we definitely have got to promote the Magicians a heck of a lot more than we're doing, because like I said before, it's an asset. And I know, Jim, that you've worked very, very hard, you know, not only on this agreement, but, you know, to make this happen for Richfield. And hats off to you for doing such a good job.
Where's your jersey? Oh.
Well, apparently some of us don't rate.
Oh.
Maybe I should consider voting against this.
Council member.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to say, it's a great time for a great value if you go over there. And just to remind Edwina and the other folks out there, your vegetables will stay cold and crisp and your beer won't get warm.
Good. Good.
You want to go ahead and make a
Okay, so I will make a motion that we approve the attached rental agreement between the city and the Minnesota Magicians for the newly constructed locker room that they're going to be using. And I'm okay with a second if anybody wants to second
Second.
that.
second? I think we'll all second that.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming tonight, too. This is exciting. I'm real excited about the season starting. New coach, too. Good, good, good. This is consideration of the 2014 revised 2015 proposed budget resolution adopting the 2015 preliminary property tax levy, setting truth and taxation hearing date, authorizing budget revision, and authorizing revision of the 2014 budget of various departments. On September 3rd, 2014, a special city council meeting was held for the purpose of presenting and discussing the 2014 revised 2015 proposed budget and 2015 preliminary property tax levy. Consequently, as a result of this meeting, the city of Richfield's preliminary gross levy is currently set at $18,288,524, which includes a levy for general fund operations of $50,165,030, a debt service levy of $2,117,378, a tax abatement levy of $306,116, and an equipment and technology levy of $700,000. The 2015 preliminary gross levy represents a 1.53 increase from the 2014 gross levy. In addition, the city must certify a proposed property tax levy of payable year of 2015 to the county auditor and then set a date for the Truth and Taxation public hearing, which is September 30th. The Truth and Taxation public hearing must be held between November 25th and December 29th and must occur at 6 p.m. or later. The city's Truth in Taxation public meeting is scheduled for December 2nd, 2014 at 6 p.m. at the City of Richfield Municipal Center. I want to say a couple things actually about the budget process and what's been going on. And as we have had many years of discussion along local government aid and all the things that we have been doing, and we continue to work at getting ourselves off of local government aid. However, we have been blessed with a legislature that saw things very differently these last few years, and we have had an increase in local government aid. And to that point, we were asked specifically to try to lower the property tax, and we did that. The staff listened, they had that, and I am very pleased with a 1.53 increase considering all the work that we have to do on roads and everything else and how we've had it. I want to say a lot of kudos to all the work that you folks did on the budget and everything. And Chris, did you have anything you'd like to present on this?
I guess about the only thing that I'd like to just reiterate is part of the Truth and Taxation law, we do need to announce that the hearing will be on December 2nd. I'm just repeating
That's
what
okay.
but it's December 2nd, 6 p.m. right here at the Richfield Municipal Center. I just want to make sure that that's clear and everybody hears that and everything. So.
And people can come talk. And I know lots of times when this comes out and everything, folks have questions. And I would encourage you to call our city manager, believe it or not. He sits down with your taxes and everything and goes over them so everybody understands that. He spends a lot of time with residents doing that. I really appreciate the fact that I don't think other cities do all the things that we do. Thank you, city manager.
Does he do taxes also?
He
Just
explains them.
Just asking.
Explains them, Ralph. I don't know that but he does explain it. So I'll make a motion to adopt the attached resolution establishing the 2015 preliminary property tax levy and proposed date for the Truth in Taxation hearing, authorizing the budget revisions and authorizing revisions of 2014 budget of various departments.
Second.
Other discussion?
I just wanted to say, because I complimented the city manager and his staff, but Chris Regis really does he lives and breathes this on an everyday basis. And, you know, he's only, he's only 26 years old and he's already graying. 'Cause he has to work with our city manager. But no, I really, seriously, I think Mr. Regis is very vigilant about taking care of the people's money, and I want to thank you for that.
You know, if I could just add,
City manager.
not only is Chris Regis an excellent finance manager, but he's the most exciting guy in accounting.
You notice how many people are in the audience here for the budget discussion, right?
You know, it's not much of a life, but it is my life.
Good.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City managers report.
Madam Mayor, I don't have anything to add to the city manager report at this time.
Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I call this meeting adjourned. We have a special city council work session following for those who'd like to stay.
Can we have like a 4-minute